Hello, good morning and welcome to today's live stream. It is Sunday the 10th of October, which is World Mental Health Day, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. Not mental health as in we teach it to children, but mental health of teachers. You guys who are watching, how as a teacher do you manage your own mental health? Of course, as always, I will stop and take questions. If you fire questions at me live, that's what I'm here for, live. But if the questions don't come in, then I'm going to focus on, first of all, what you should do as a teacher if you are struggling with stress, anxiety or depression or just not coping. Secondly, what all schools should be doing to proactively plan to have really good teacher mental health. And thirdly, I'll talk a little bit about the environment and why teachers are under so much stress and how we might tackle that in ways that the schools can't address themselves. Okay, so first of all was teachers' mental health. Well, I really addressed that last week. I did a live stream that was entirely on that, talking about how you begin to take baby steps. If you're really struggling, you might need a day off just to sleep so you can begin to think about how you begin to tackle it. And also a bit about how struggling with stress is a positive thing in the long term. Obviously, it isn't in the short term. No one would wish it on you. But the things you learn from it will make you a much better human being as you struggle through it, but it takes a long time. So here's a link to that live stream. I'll put that link in as soon as I can edit this video and get it in. And I will also put a link to it at the end and in the description. If those links aren't live yet, they should be soon. Second thing is about what schools should be doing to reduce teacher stress. Now, I'm based in England, and in 2019, our schools regulator Ofsted introduced new criteria that a school could not be rated good or outstanding unless it had really sound policies to safeguard staff mental health and well-being. And this week, I've had the absolute privilege of interviewing this guy, Steve Waters, who has gone around schools and collected case studies from schools that are working really hard on this. And it's just a brilliant book because these case studies are so vulnerable and so forensic. You're going to be able to read them and go, well, that's not for my school, but that is. We could do that. Loads of inspiration there. And there's a lot of theory behind this in this book. One of the things Steve's been talking about most is Christine Maslach's 6 principles of 6 causes of burnout that schools that are seriously trying to address teacher burnout should be thinking about. So one is workload, and in quite a lot of these case studies, it's the marking that's changed when staff have discussed it, what's really effective, what's really working. They've changed their marking policies. Perceived lack of control, so that's changing a school so that where decisions are made, the staff are fully involved. If something is changing in your classroom and you don't quite agree with it, if it's been discussed and you've been heard and you understand why that change is being made in the overall benefit of the school, then that's normal. But often that isn't the case. Changes are just coming in, they're being directed to staff, they've not been involved in those discussions. So it's about sorting that out. Reward, a lot of schools have understood it's not just about pay, it's about the way that staff communicate with each other, and they've put in much better processes for ensuring staff feel appreciated and cared for. About community, I've been working in schools recently that have had an amazing sense of community. You just trust each other as a teacher, and the power of what you can do as a teacher when you trust the people around you and are making decisions together all the time is just amazing. So it's looking at that in detail and sorting it out. Fairness, making sure it's not a culture at your school where some teachers don't bother to apply to jobs because they think they're lined up for someone else. And values mismatch and talking about the values we hold. Now, if you've got a really toxic school, a toxic school where there is bullying from the top and it's not being addressed, then the chances are you need to get out of there and the community around that school needs to replace the leadership, and they may not do that, which is why you have to leave. So I've been talking about all of that with this amazing guy. Just such a wonderful privilege to get the chance to interview him. Here's a link to the interview, which I'll get live on here as soon as I can. And I'll also put a link to that at the end of this video and in the description. It's quite long, but we talk in a lot of depth about these issues. I do recommend buying the book, but of course you can watch that interview for free. I think it's about 40 minutes. So you might want to put some time aside. We really get into this from 20 minutes onwards, and also into quite a lot of other issues around this topic. So what about the policy environment that's creating so much stress in teachers? And of course, it's not just the policy environment. These real stresses come at us. We can never be resourced to be everything we would want to be and have the time and the financial resources to completely meet the needs of every child. And that creates a stress. But politics and policy also creates many, many unnecessary stresses. And being based here in England, we've seen this more than anywhere else in the world, really, because all power was concentrated into the national centre. I work a lot in Scotland, and I talk a lot to people in the US, and things are much more local. Yes, you get bad policies. Yes, you get things you disagree with, but they're closer to home. They're in your local area. You may know councillors who make the decisions. You can see ways forward that people you know could get into those positions of power. In England, it's all from the centre since 2010, and it has been horrific. And lots of policies have come through that have wrecked the lives of teachers and children. I mean, a key one right at the beginning was this idea that whereas previously schools had worked together and head teachers have worked together to cater for the whole community of children around them, that should be changed from the centre so that schools should focus on their own communities at the expense of the children who are always going to drop out between the cracks. Now, I know quite a few head teachers have done amazing work to try and work around the sides of those policies, and all credit to you. I'm not disrespecting what you do, but there have been so many policies. And my channel here is about capturing the maths teaching strategies that really, really work to create a community of staff and children well-being, where children's ideas about maths are heard and then connected to what the teacher is trying to teach them. And our national policy at the minute is not to do that, to do the opposite, just to treat children as being empty vessels who have no ideas of their own and get them to concentrate on what the state wants to teach them and transmit that knowledge into them. So this whole channel and the list of videos, well, if you go to the videos tabs, you can scroll down and see them. There is a video for every single primary maths topic on how to teach it in these ways. But also at www.authenticmaths.co.uk/videos. You can see the full list with all the links. So they are here to help you. It's just part of what I do. So how do we address those policy issues? It is so important that teachers get involved in politics. Now, if you are at full throttle in your career and working full-time as a teacher, it's probably not for you just now. All you could do is realistically join a political party and stay in the loop as and when you've got time to read the correspondence. Some teachers maybe deliver some leaflets for a good local council. That'd be fantastic if you just deliver to your street. But what you need to do is encourage those teachers who are on the fringes of teaching. Maybe they've had a breakdown and they're not working full-time. Maybe they're on a career break and they're juggling stuff. Maybe they're young, recently retired. Encourage them to get involved, please, in all political parties. We need teacher representation in all our political parties, in all the discussions about policy. There need to be teachers there, and there's no excuse for us not being there. Over the last 10 years, I've been juggling working in schools, being a wife, being a mum, and politics. And it has been so liberating to see it as it actually is, to be humble to the challenges that politicians face, and to work with people cross-party on different committees and come to understand them as they are and work on stuff and make some positive differences on some things. And it has taught me so much. I am here doing this YouTube channel because I suddenly ended up as a candidate in a by-election for national government. And I was supported to become the first ever parliamentary candidate to live stream every night. And that's what taught me these skills that have got me going with this. So it's not okay if you are saying to all your colleagues, politics is toxic, don't get involved, don't touch it. You need to encourage them on, especially if they are keen. If it's not for you, then it needs to be for some of your friends, because we need people there. That's part of detoxifying education. And I had the privilege during lockdown of speaking at a conference for the PYP, the PIP community, which is the international schools. The PIP curriculum is the primary equivalent of the International Baccalaureate secondary curriculum. And it was stunning. There's this whole community of teachers who have not been subject to all these awful national policies or local policies even. And it's just amazing. No wonder so many teachers are going abroad. And it's a great place to tap into the Toddle Ties, TODDLETIES conferences are stunning if you just want to hear speakers who have never been shut down by national policy and have spent their whole careers teacher leaders thinking about child-centred education and just forensically about what really, really works. Okay, so it has been such a privilege to do this channel, and I think it's going through 100,000 views today. Wow. It's why I keep going, because the feedback is just so amazing from teachers who like the direct conversation and the honesty. Thank you so much. It doesn't pay at this kind of level, just in case you were wondering. I would have been curious about that, but it doesn't. But it's just a huge privilege to do it and to connect with so many amazing teachers and to be doing these interviews. If you've got some thoughts or practice that's forensic roots up that you want to talk about, that you don't feel is being talked about, get in touch and we'll talk about doing an interview. And it's wonderful to do these interviews because it's not just about recording your thoughts, about mentoring you and challenging you and getting you to think deeper. And that's what's going on in these interviews. So yes, some of these people I'm interviewing are mega brains who've done several decades at the top of education, but that's not what it's all about. If you're a teacher in the classroom who's doing something that's really special and different, I want to talk to you too. Okay, that's it. Have a great Sunday. World Mental Health Day. Look after your mental health. Look after your colleagues. Bye for now.